Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to our weekly Learn in Your Lunchtime webinar. And we've got a fantastic guest in studio with us this afternoon. But before we get into the topic for today, and I give Terence an opportunity to introduce himself, just a reminder, this is the Student Success Coach. We go live most Fridays, and we have an entire community that's really geared towards the success of people who are perhaps studying, or trying to get ahead in their careers and want to, take on some extra online courses, for example. And through our Facebook group and through this YouTube channel, we really connect people that need help and need inspiration and mentorship. We've had some fantastic guests previously. We've had people who have done 2 PhDs. We've had experts on mental health. We talk about different topics that people like yourselves are facing as you're doing your studies and even maybe trying to get a job or trying to get ahead in your careers, etc. So let's just quickly say hi to Semen, who is a regular, and he says that he's super excited to be here, has been looking forward to this webinar since it was announced, ready for another one of your amazing sessions. What better way to get into Friday? Semen, I absolutely agree with you, and I always feel that, Friday afternoon is basically the start of the weekend. This is a long weekend for us here in South Africa, if you're watching from South Africa. So Semen, absolutely. We're just going to have fun this afternoon and would really love your questions about this broad field of data science and careers. And on that topic, I think let me give Terence an opportunity to introduce himself, where he's from, and just to get the conversation going around the importance and this idea of data science as something that's becoming more and more important for us to think about, as we want to be successful in our careers and our studies. Terence.
Okay, thank you so much, Peter, for having me on here. So my name is Terence Govender, and I'm currently working as the Head of Instructional Technology and Serious Games at Regenesys Business School. We are currently opening up a new school of continuous and professional development, which is now going to be my baby, which I'm going to be taking care of, and look forward to creating a lot of courses that were actually going to help students and business people, currently pursuing my PhD in computer science, not specifically in data science. It's actually in game development. But, in any field, you're going to get influenced by other subfields, and definitely data science is one of those subfields that pops up regularly. So thank you. Thank you for having me on. And look forward to the questions.
No, that's great. So Terence, let's just break it down now for everybody. And we hear all these buzzwords, in the industry today. And, we often have a range of different, topics that people are studying, whether it's from medicine through to engineering. And, those are the traditional sort of academic, areas of study, etc. Now we've got artificial intelligence, we've got robotics, we've got machine learning, data science that you've mentioned, deep learning, all of this stuff suddenly become so popular in the last sort of 10 to 15 years. And I know from my experience, as we drive things like digital transformation in large organizations, one often realizes that it takes a while for people to catch up and to understand these concepts and get to grips with them. So from your perspective, with a non-technical audience, probably, listening to our webinar today, how do you link these different topics? And can you give us an easy to remember way of thinking about, I would say, artificial intelligence, data science, machine learning, and maybe one or two of these others? In your mind, is it something that is relatively clear for you? And how do you make sense of it? And how would you explain it to a non-technical audience?
Sure. So if you think about it, in the past, as you say, in the past 10, 15 years, we as humans, as a society, have really started to generate data. Okay. Every time you click on a web page, you're generating data, those little accept cookies at the bottom. Those are tracked, those are sent to some kind of CRM software. Yeah, some kind of marketing person is going to see that data, right? So, we generate data with every Google search, with every, even you, as you said, in the medical field, as a patient, when you go to a hospital, you're giving them your data. They are generating data from their diagnosis of you. They have to analyze that data. They can make predictions of things happening in the community based on the data that they get. Data is everywhere. And so in order for us to, before we would, have books where we would put these things down and write them out. It's like, oh, okay, we can tabulate this and we can kind of make a prediction based on that. And, that's why we have difficult subjects like actuarial science and statistics coming up. So to make it easier, data science is kind of our shift, that digital transformation, going from that manual tabulating and trying to figure out things into a digital realm where we have something called big data. Big data is literally all of the data on the internet that we are currently generating as people. Like I said, with the Facebook clicks, your likes, your going onto any website, whatever searches. And we're trying to put that into a structure, right? So, the data is, it could be irrelevant, it could be relevant, it could be valid, it could be inaccurate. We don't know until we actually sort that out, right? So in the basic sense, all that data is probably valuable to someone. And as a company, for example, as I mentioned with the cookies and tracking and things like that, you would like to know, how well your pages are doing. You would like to know how well your marketing is doing and things like that. So as a data scientist or in data science, what they would do is they would take all this data and basically put it into a model. That model will then have some mathematics and statistics added to it, and we can get some kind of prediction. We can get some kind of description of what is going on. Right now, whether that is going to be good or bad will be determined by the data. Then data science itself it seems kind of manual now, right? Because we're just taking data and we're trying to put it into a place and trying to output it. That feels very manual. So that's why we have things like machine learning. Now, machine learning can, in the basic sense, become a way to find specific data or specific patterns. And the computer can kind of think about, oh, I think that this is going to be this. For example, an easy example is handwriting recognition, right? When you use your cell phone and if you have a stylus and you write down things on your phone, it can predict, I think this is a T, I think this is an A, based on prior knowledge. So with machine learning, we need to teach it how to look for certain things. And we can do that in a multiple different ways. The Google car is a very, very good example of this, right? Sebastian Thrun, the man who created the Google car, lots of trial and error, but they basically taught the car how to drive, and this took a lot of teaching, a lot of simulations, a lot of trial and error. And it's exactly the same way with machine learning. We can teach our computers, basically the machines, how to look for certain information. So when we start gathering the information for our data science analysis, we're not getting just any information. We are getting something that is probably valuable or probably necessary. And then if we go a step higher than that into AI is generally a system. So this is going to be at the highest level, you will have an AI system that automates all of these processes. So you can think of machine learning is the process to get there. And once everything is done, we have an AI system. An AI system that can take in information, understand it already from all of the previous simulations, and then output it into our data science, whatever kind of what am I going to say, output you're looking for. So whether it be the number of clients or the revenue or whatever, and then within that, there's variables that, maybe these people go to a certain store or these people go to a certain website, and then you can start making some predictions. And that's where data science has become really important in that, because if you know where you're struggling, where your business is struggling, you can solve those problems. And so these data science now is a massive field, massive in every sector. It's not just a business thing. It's not just a computer science thing. As you said, it's It's in our medical fields. It's in our banking. It's in our well, it's in our schools as well. As I say, Regenesys Business School, we use data science as well, obviously. So yeah, it basically AI will be at the top. Our machine learning is our process that gets us the information we want, and the data science part is basically structuring, filtering, and categorizing the data that we've received, and trying to make predictions and describing it, and using that data to improve our system, or whatever feedback we get, we use it.
Amazing, Terence. I mean, I've learned so much, and you've broken it down, so well for us. So, I mean, as you say, you've got all this data being generated in every single field. As things become more digitized, we are able to capture that data. Then we're able to use that data to train a machine that previously wouldn't have had access to that data because the process to capture it wasn't digital, right? It was on a form or something. But now that it's digital, like you said, on a website, we've got massive amounts of data. Machine learning, as you say, teaches the machine using that data, which then becomes intelligent because it can recognize patterns based on the history and the data that you've given it to learn from. And the applications, as you say, is like recognizing handwriting, or recognizing a face, or anticipating a change in the road direction if they're looking at the road signs, etc., in driverless cars, and thousands of other use cases, which, as you say, across many different sectors, different professions are now having to get to grips with, because these machines potentially are starting to become better at recognizing patterns than humans, right? And I guess, I mean, just from the amateur reading that I've done, the machines are very good at sort of the narrow artificial intelligence, where they're very good at a specific task, but the general intelligence that we have in our brain, which is very good at learning new patterns, there's still we think a few decades before we get to, I guess, what do they call it, when machines become self-aware. And we've seen this in movies, right? I mean, we've seen this in the Terminator, and movies often predict the trends in technology. So different people are there's different views as to how long that's going to take before machines are able to teach themselves what they need to learn. The humans are still teaching the machines what they need to learn. So I guess there's a bit of science fiction and fantasy there, and doomsday theory that we can get into. But I guess that sort of way of thinking about it is very useful. And again, very importantly, as people listen to this webinar and in our student success coach community are trying to get going in their careers as an engineer, as a doctor, as anything that they're doing, data covers all of that, and the role of machines in all of those careers, and the future role of those machines in those careers, and how disruptive they're going to be, is critical for everybody to start to get a basic level of understanding. And I think that's something that Regenesys as a business school, really tries to help people with through your courses and training and programs.
Yeah, no, exactly. Even within data science, you can say that you should have a very general knowledge of AI, ML, and so the artificial intelligence, the machine learning, and data science. You should have a general knowledge of what they are and what they do, because, as you say, they're disrupting business. They're making certain processes so much quicker and so much easier. Imagine having to filter through thousands and thousands of data entries by yourself, and trying to figure it out. So that's why we have a sister, well, it's a child company within Regenesys called Digital Regenesys, and they are aiming to help people to understand these topics with we have the Python coding, which is actually one of the coding languages that is used most frequently with AI, so artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data science. Mostly because, as I said, these three fields are very closely related. We could say that AI would be kind of the father or the mother, the high up there, and then the children would be ML, the machine learning, and data science, because they're so closely related. But AI, as I said, that automation is the final level. Once you have an AI system in place, everything is just going to run by itself. There's no more need for somebody to keep making machine learning do its thing, because now it's all automated. So we've got these courses on AI, machine learning, coding, and data science, so that you can have a very broad understanding. And then if you want more, there are we are still developing, advanced courses in these topics as well, because we found that there's definitely a need for digital literacy. And as you said, it seems like a lot of businesses and business people have not really taken it seriously. Especially here in South Africa, it's not really taken seriously as an up and coming thing. But if you look at if you look at Amazon and Google and those companies, a lot of their processes are automated, and it frees up time for their employees to have that mental well-being as well. They take care of their people, because a lot of the system the processes are automated. So the digital transformation isn't just one-sided in terms of making the businesses function better. You're also helping your employees function better as well. So there's multiple perspectives and facets to it that we could also get into. And as you said, the AI self-awareness is, I would say, it's very, very far away from us. There's so many things that we haven't truly grasped. For example, mapping the brain itself. I know Elon Musk right now is trying to download brains into robots, but these things are still, as you say, science fiction. AI is meant to help us. AI is built by us, for us, and it's not going to take over your company. That's I just want to say that.
No, absolutely. And I mean, there's a fantastic book called Life 3.0, which Elon Musk actually promotes as a good book to read about AI. And in that book, it talks about the importance of very philanthropic people getting into the field of AI, so that we do achieve exactly what you were saying there, that AI should service humanity and advance our goals, rather than people with sort of more narrow-minded goals, consolidating power through AI, which Elon Musk also warns is a huge danger. So I think for me, it's a clarion call to say, let's get people that can help advance the goals of humanity into data science. But then let's make sure that people that are, driving careers and industries outside the core field of data science, to understand data science, so that they can leverage it into those industries as best as possible. Terence, we've got some great questions coming through here now. So the first one, Mania, and these are exactly the kind of questions that we're looking for here, because we really want to help people make decisions about what to study and what direction they want to take their careers in, that are informed from this knowledge that you're helping to give to us today around data science. So Mania says, currently a first-year student doing a double major. I'm considering pairing my physics major with a major in stats. Would this be a good foundation for data science? Terence.
Okay, so physics major, that's a that's a really difficult course. But if you love physics, it's going to be a really fun journey for you. Pairing it with statistics, I would say statistics in general is a very, very good subject. You're going to use statistics throughout your research career if you pursue this to master's or doctorate level. That statistics is going to really come in handy. In terms of, will this help you for data science? Yes. Statistics is basically we can say the foundation of data science, because you are dealing with predictive models, you're dealing with what variables influence the data, you're dealing with all of these, regression models and all of those things you'll come across in your statistics course. So if you were to transition into data science, the only thing you'd really need to know is how to code in Python, probably, or whatever language that's going to be at the time when you start your data science career. These things also change over time, and also depending on your field, the data science might also be the coding language you're using, it might be different as well. But also on the point of coding, I feel that a lot of people that come across data science are scared because of the coding part, but really Python is a very high level language, meaning it's exceptionally close to English. You're going to be writing sentences, basically. I mean, I want to say it like that, but yeah, it's not difficult to learn. And what it does is when you learn any coding language, it's not about the coding language itself. It's actually about learning the mindset. Once you start coding, you're going to learn that you can apply whatever code you do in Python to any other object-oriented programming language. So, for example, if you pick up Java or if you pick up C, the way you logic the coding is actually going to be very similar. So yes, I would say, just to answer your question, yes, majoring in physics is going to make you very smart, and majoring in statistics is going to help you with data science. Yes.
So Terence, I mean, just to pick up on a couple of the topics that you mentioned, and with reference to digital Regenesys and some of the courses that you guys are putting out there, and perhaps we could talk about this one very quickly, which I think brings together a couple of topics that we've been talking about. So machine learning in Python, which is a very easy to learn language, as you mentioned. And then if I scroll down to the curriculum of this course, so after going through a bit of an introduction to machine learning, there's actually a whole section on statistics here. So as you were saying, statistics being the foundation of getting to grips with, these topics of machine learning and data science, etc. Perhaps we can make this course available to everybody on the webinar now. And certainly for Mania, maybe start by going through this course. You'll get, that intro and insights around machine learning. You'll get the basics of statistics. You'll even get an introduction into Python and see what Terence was talking about in terms of it being a high-level language and a very easy one to use, etc. And that will then maybe give you a bit more insights on which to make an informed decision, and an important decision about, adding on a significant amount of work that you might be considering. Where if you were to, go through an entire major of statistics, that would set you up to become an actuary potentially, but it might be much more than what you're looking for just to get to grips with data science as a field. So I think, you've got some good insights there from Terence, and I'll put a link to the course in the chat. Terence, just as I scroll down through this curriculum, is there anything else that you want to add about this course and maybe point out to people to take advantage of if they wanted to go in and have a look at it?
So the one of the things that I see is actually understanding what machine learning is, and I think that's actually quite an important point. It's an important concept to grasp. When we say machine learning, it's very much based on us teaching, right? It should actually be machine teaching rather than machine learning, in my opinion, because we are giving the computer a set of instructions that it needs to understand in completely, and we do this through simulations. So I think, yeah, machine learning and teaching, go very close together from, our understanding of how the brain works, right? Because machine learning is inspired by our brains. It's inspired by human thinking, and even if you go into the machine learning, you'll start to hear about neural networks and artificial neural networks. Basically, we create a very simple brain that can teach the machine how to do it. And then after several iterations of this, the machine understands a basic of what it needs to do, and we store that as a code. If anybody's interested in some interesting machine learning, there is NLP, which is natural language processing. We don't really have it on, I don't think I've seen it on this, but it's a bit more advanced than what you'd cover in this topic anyway. And how marketing and marketing campaigns can be basically made by a computer, just because a computer has learned so much about marketing that you can just type in a few words about, for example, you have a product that you want to sell, so you just type in a bit about the product description, and the the machine will actually generate the rest of the text. Then you just have to edit it and fix it up. But this is something that machine learning, they used Wikipedia. So they basically just told the machine to run through Wikipedia. I mean, it must have taken a long time, but just to learn. And this is moving towards something that we call semantic searches. I don't know if you, Peter, have you heard of semantic searches?
No, I haven't. Just the natural language processing and the different ways of doing that.
Okay, so actually Google, I think the Google search uses it. So when you search for something on Google, it doesn't just search in, the original way it would just send out crawlers. They call them crawlers. It's basically code to search for things, right? And then it brings back the first few entries that it sees that word in. But now we're moving towards a semantic web. Semantic meaning the meaning of what's happening. So actually, when you Google search something, it will look for the context rather than the words, which is also a machine learning thing. How would a machine understand context if it didn't learn it? So this is also another application of machine learning.
In this lesson, we're just going to... Yeah, fantastic, Terence. I just wanted to just have a quick look at the, there's obviously with all of the digital Regenesys courses, we have quite a comprehensive set of worksheets and downloads. And, there's a lot of reference material that people can take away and take advantage of, which I think, is testimony, Terence, to the incredible talent that you have in your faculty at Digital Regenesys and the hard work that's gone into, putting these concepts out for people, which we obviously teach in the lessons, but then we give, in the form of worksheets and handouts and workbooks, for people to take as a reference forward into their careers, etc. So I think this particular workbook is nearly 200 pages, which, I think, as a sort of an introduction to the field of machine learning and getting to grips with this area of data science with that foundation of statistics, and a bit of an introduction to Python as the language that is used in data science and machine learning. This is really, I think, an incredible opportunity that people should take advantage of. And with, just a couple of hours, over a week or so, you can get through this and get just that sort of introduction to all of those different topics without potentially, as Munir is considering, going into a massive investment of time and money into a statistics major, which, as I say, you could become an actuary, but might be an overkill just to get to grips with data science as a broader field.
Yeah, no, definitely. The statistics will help him in many other things as well. But in terms of just data science, just understanding the basics of, I think it's inferential and descriptive statistics, maybe going into regression models and just understanding like the basics of stats. I think you will come across in your fourth year regardless, because in your fourth year you'll generally start doing your independent research, right? So you'll generally come across those concepts then. Data science, I think the main thing would be understanding the tools that they use. So obviously there is data visualization tools, there are data storage tools. So I think in South Africa or in Africa, we use Power BI, which is a Microsoft tool. And in Asia, they use Tableau, which is it's a different tool. But I mean, they work very similarly. And just so understanding the tools, understanding the coding language, and the rest is it's basic statistics.
And I just see on the screen here, just by chance, I clicked on the apple sorting example that we've included in the course, whereby, let's say you have a conveyor belt of apples moving along and you want to sort green and red apples. And let's say you're in a farm, right? You're running a farm, and, how does data science and machine learning help you become more efficient as a farmer? You could train a machine to recognize green and red apples and then sort those green and red apples for transportation to the market. Now, obviously, we have an employment consideration here in this country as well, but it has been proven that so far, data science and artificial intelligence, humans have been able to stay ahead of those disruptive forces. And we remember, or we don't know, but we'll have learned about in history the Luddites in the 1800s who tried to destroy the cotton mill machinery because they thought it was going to be taking away their jobs. But every time humans were able to move ahead of the machines and put the machines to work and create new jobs and new opportunities for employment. So we must embrace machinery, embrace data science, but obviously also make sure that we're doing that in the right way, for the conditions of the labor market in whichever industry we're operating. But I just want to jump onto this question about marketing, and obviously then using some of the insights that you've given us, Terence, and the examples that we've seen and the benefit people can get from this course as an example. Let's talk then about, and I would probably put it the other way around, how can data science be part of marketing? I mean, I think that's more the question, I think, if I was to interpret that question, Terence.
Yeah, no, 100%. So as I said, data scientists work in almost every sector, every field you can think of. And marketing is right now a very, very big one, because you can, as I mentioned before, you can understand more clearly how your websites are running, how your campaigns are running, your target audience, understanding, are you capturing the right leads? There's so many things that can be done from the marketing side that a data scientist can analyze. So in this case, you'd probably be a data analyst or some kind of data specialist working with the marketing team. So yes, 100% data science. There is a data science career for you if you want to work with the marketing team. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I guess, Terence, with the advent of the exponential platforms and social media really sort of starting to disrupt the traditional marketing and advertising industries, bringing with it, massive opportunities for digitization. We've really got to make sure that we understand the principles of how that's disrupting those industries so that we can take advantage of them rather than push against them. And try and regulate them out of different industries. I think embracing them and understanding them and learning about them and doing courses, like Digital Regenesys offer, I think is the more progressive way of thinking about the potential disruption to industries. And I think, as this person is probably alluding to, if they're going into marketing, they need to make sure that whatever course they're doing in marketing probably includes a data science module, simply because that would be indicative of that marketing qualification being very modern in its thinking and up to date in terms of the skills, the practical skills that it will give you. But you could also add on data science training and qualifications with a marketing application to it as well. Terence Seaman asks, currently doing an MSc in civil engineering involving ANNs and data. I don't know what ANNs, maybe you know what that is, Terence. Which do you find more comfortable for automation, Python or UiPath?
So ANNs are artificial neural networks. That was what I mentioned earlier. It's basically like a small brain that we create. Comfortable, probably Python, just because, as I said, it's the easiest language at the moment, and it's the most versatile and flexible. I haven't had much experience with UiPath. I have seen it, but I haven't used it. In most cases, the reason why Python is taken is because of its ease of use. And a lot of data scientists are coming from other fields. And so the processes and theories that they build around data science and how it works usually involve some kind of Python training. So, and I mentioned this earlier, coding languages will change over time and tools will change over time. But I feel like if you are comfortable with Python, you will have a lot more opportunities, not only in data science, but in other in machine learning or AI or web development, if you really want to go that far. But yeah, Python is involved in all of those things. Taking a specialized or more specialized approach like UiPath or MATLAB or one of the more specialized tools or languages, then you'll obviously get that the idea of coding, and you will get a good foundation in it. But you might have to relearn Python when you move to a different company or you move to a different place. I would say, yeah, for me, comfortable would be Python just because I'm more experienced in it. But in terms of relevance in industry, Python is going to be big. I don't know much about civil engineering, so if you're going into some kind of company that is going to be using UiPath, then you should spend time working on UiPath. Yeah, that's
Yeah, and Terence, I was just looking at your Digital Regenesys page, and I see that you do actually have a brand new Python for Beginners course. So maybe let's just click on that as we were talking about Python, and let's just see what potentially people would get in that course. And I know that it also includes a number of different projects that people could get into. So, Terence, do you want to touch very quickly on this course? And the previous course I showed the landing page, but this is actually the course curriculum, so that if you go into the course, and we'll make it available for free to everyone on this webinar so that you can take advantage of it. But maybe do you want to quickly just touch on this Python course that Digital Regenesys offers, and perhaps, Semin, this is something that you want to have a look at, but also take note of Terence's advice. If your organization is using UiPath, then you probably want to stick to UiPath. But if you've got some flexibility, then take Terence's advice that Python is the number one programming language and possibly could be a good choice. And Digital Regenesys offer this course. So Terence, any thoughts on the course itself? And this is actually inside the course. This is not just the landing page of the course. Terence?
Sure. So in terms of the way that the course was structured, it goes through the basics of programming in general. When we teach any kind of coding in any computer science subject, we like to explain each variable. So what kind of data can we work with? How can we manipulate the data? I think it mentions interpreted language, but interpreted languages means that if you were going to use this outside of Anaconda, which is, as you can see, it's how to install Anaconda. The Anaconda does the interpreting for you. There are different types of languages, just compiled languages and interpreted languages. And we teach you all of these differences. So, at the beginning of this course, you basically have a general understanding of what coding means, what programming means. And I feel that it's very good to break down that barrier of that fear of coding. It's weird. We've seen it come up a lot where people are scared to start coding because they think it's this, sci-fi or this alien language that they're never going to understand. But really, Python is very close to English, so it's easy to understand, easy to use. And the way that Dr. Laika here, who is the facilitator, explains it is through examples, and you will get hands-on experience with Python, doing projects, and these projects will actually help you to understand the foundation. When we learn coding, we have to learn a whole bunch of other things. We have to learn mathematics and statistics and everything else. But the real thing when you're programming in a language is understanding the logic, right? If you can understand that you have problem A and you want to solve it, you need to do A, B, C, D, and then maybe you can break up problem one or problem A into problem A and problem B, and then you can structure it. You can start to see, oh, I understand how I can fix this one, and then I can move on to that one and move on and move on and move on. And you just start building up a skill. It's a critical thinking skill that is directly related to coding. But I mean, like I said, it's very logical. And once you understand the difference, so you see here, Dr. Laika is writing a for loop, or she's importing something from, and you see it's from total import. There we go. So it's nothing scary. It's you taking, you're just importing data from somewhere, right? The state of this, blah, blah, blah. It's very, as I said, very close to English. And, you're going to get hands-on experience. You're going to get hands-on projects. So fundamentals, you get breakdown, learn the logic, and execute.
Yeah, wonderful, Terence. And I mean, I think there's more than 10 different projects, and we did a preview of some of them. There's the text to speech, there's facial recognition, there's the fidget spinner, and then, as you say, Dr. Like actually, goes through step by step on the screen. So having gone through the earlier parts of the course, you'll be able to do exactly what she's doing on the screen, and then you just follow along and solve those problems, for yourself, so that you can apply them to specific problems in your industry or in your career. Now we've got a problem here, or an idea that Mvelo says, hey, can data science help predict stocks price? So there's a question that you would ask a machine, right? You'd say, based on all the data available, can you tell me what the stock price of Tesla is going to be in 6 months' time? And that, if you could do that, that's an amazing question to answer. And I think humans have been trying to predict the future, since hundreds of years ago. But Terence, maybe let's just go into the financial world and the application of data science. And from my perspective, I know that there are entire, stock funds now that pick stocks based on data science and on algorithms. I know Michael Jordan, for example, who was a previous CEO of FNB. He's been going into a couple of AI funds and seeing if machines can beat the asset managers and the stock pickers of other traditionally managed firms. And I think the jury is still out. I don't think there's a clear winner necessarily. But Terence, your thoughts on data science in financial world and investments and stock picking, like Mvelo's asked here?
Yeah, so as you said, actually, there's a lot of people who are trying to do this. And right now, the big movement is towards trying to predict cryptocurrency, right? And it's it's always take it with a pinch of salt. And this is, I guess, the same kind of advice that you would say if you're going with a broker or an asset manager or something like that. Always take their advice with a pinch of salt. The reason why I say this is obviously data science is going to be working on a much higher scale of data than a normal person. They can obviously, we can plug in a ton of data, and based on the algorithms or the predictive models that the data scientist has created, that we can get some kind of estimate. Whether that estimate or that prediction is accurate is a completely different story. There's so many variables when it comes to stock prices. There's geopolitics, there's what can we say? There's natural disasters. There's just too many things that can happen. Elon Musk's tweets could change the stock markets. So predicting, you can make a basic prediction, yes, using data science, of course. Anytime there's data, we can make a prediction. That is literally the function of data science, is to make predictive models, or to model data into something that we can use. But whether that is going to be accurate and we can say if it's going to happen, I don't know. The probability of it happening maybe is high. But the same can be said for the asset manager or the broker who's trying to sell you some kind of stock. They probably watching the markets very closely as well. How do we train a computer to watch the markets? Very simply, there's a way to do that. So yes, definitely you can predict the stock markets, but to what probability? That is a different question. It's very hard to answer that. But yeah.
and I guess if you take Warren Buffett's view of always looking at the fundamentals and looking at the leadership, he was very successful even before artificial intelligence and data science and so on. So, as you say, there are so many different variables to try and think about. And Semin just mentioned they're currently using the Jupyter Notebook, ecstatic about the course, already enrolled, definitely going to have a great time with the course. And Semin, I've just added the Python as well. So that's obviously a lot more extensive. You get a bit of Python in the machine learning course, but then there's the full Python course, which will give you a lot more in-depth and skills around Python, as well as 10 application projects. So free access to both of those courses are in the chat. And Semin, as always, would love a rating and a review on the course so that we get your feedback, so that Digital Regenesys can keep making these awesome courses, and so that other students can see your comments on the landing page and get an idea of the value that you've got from the course. There was another great question here. This was Himal Mystery there, just saying, currently working on a system to collect data from a people based on a problem. However many people have the same problem, not too sure of that. Can Python be used to sort through the data? Now, Terence, you touched on this idea of data management, so data pre-processing, visualization, and storage, etc. Maybe just go into the link again between data and Python and what that can accomplish to help Himal here. But I would suggest, Himal, once again, that you go through both of our courses, because we have extensive data management and data processing lessons in both courses. Obviously, the one is more applied to the machine learning side of things, but there is extensive training on that in both those courses. But Terence, your thoughts on this question?
So from what I'm gathering from this question is the people that you are taking the data from have a specific issue. So can Python be used to solve it? So Python is basically just our language. So it's the way that we speak to the data to ask it, what's going on. So what we would have is a database, which is where your information is going to be stored, and we pull that data, and we use Python to say, okay, we want to do this kind of predictive analysis, we want to do this kind of statistical analysis, we want to do this kind of, whatever you want to do with the data, you're going to use Python to speak to, as Simon said, he's using Anaconda. So in this case, yes, you're going to be using Anaconda. So on Anaconda, you're going to speak to Anaconda to say what you want to do with the data. And that's as simple as it gets, is you're going to be using Python to speak, and the code will do the rest. You're going to get an output coming out from that, which is hopefully going to be answering the question of, why is the issue occurring, or what other variables could be causing the issue. I don't really know what's going on with your people, but yes, the Python is the language that we use to communicate between the database and the output, basically.
So, Terence, if I could put it in even maybe sort of dumber terms, we use a human language, so if you were doing research on people, you would interview somebody to ask them something. Now we're using Python to speak to a database or the source of data from which we want to learn something. I mean, is it as that as simple enough explanation that sort of suffices for people to understand it? And I guess the value of Python then, because of its familiarity with English, it's not a massive jump for people to learn Python, but then they're using their knowledge of the English language to take advantage of value from the data, because obviously, unless you're doing a text to a speech to Python conversion, you can code in Python to get the value from the data. I mean, is that basically, in layman's terms, I guess, sort of how you would answer that as well?
Yeah, no, exactly. So it's just a language that we use to process it. Yeah, exactly that.
Okay, Zito, good day, fellas. How does statistics relate to data science, and how does it use business? We did cover this a little bit earlier, and we talked about how, there's a statistics section in the machine learning course, and you really need to understand things like probability and other related topics in statistics to understand pattern recognition and modeling, etc., because, that's a lot of those principles in terms of how you would get value from machine learning and data, etc. So, typically in my experience, you would have experts in statistics, but you would be asking a statistician for an answer that they would give you back. Whereas now we want to use statistical principles in how we create models that are repetitive and useful in making decisions. And those could be real-time decisions, like a driverless car needing to anticipate a collision. You can't phone up a statistician and ask them, so you train the machine using the statistical principles, but the speed that you get from the digitization of those models is really what's given us the disruption in so many industries. So again, I think, the actuarial industry, also machine learning is coming there, and it's going to disrupt that world, just like it's disrupting many other industries as well. Terence, I don't know if you want to comment to Zito again on this topic of statistics in data science.
Yeah, so this actually also touching on the other question about the marketing as well, right? So there's a big movement towards, so obviously in computer science we call it data science, but in the business world it's often called business intelligence. Very similar concept, but with business intelligence, obviously they're very focused on understanding the business. So they learn more about the variables that are most commonly found. It's kind of when you when you learn research. If you're in the arts or humanities department, you're going to learn your research from that angle. Or if you're in the biology department, you're going to learn your research from that angle. So yes, you're going to come across statistics from a business angle when you're doing data science in a business. And I mean, this could be as simple as understanding you're selling a product and you want to find out all your competitors. How are they doing? How are they working on the inflation? How are they increasing the price of their product? And you could use data science to predict what the next price increase is going to be, so that you're ahead of the curve, or understanding, do I need to source this product from a new place? You can use the mean variable. I mean, the mean, the median, the mode, all of the descriptive statistics come out. But really, the interpretation of your data science output is going to be complicated. You're going to have to understand all of the different variables that exist within the business to really give a good interpretation of the results. And this is why data science is not as easy as we make it sound. Just it's just a bit of statistics and a bit of coding. No, but it's really about the output, right? Your boss will give you a really complicated task to figure out maybe why is the foot traffic not doing well at our store. So you need to figure out why are our products not selling. We can try and take a glimpse of which products are selling, why are the other ones not selling. Is it the price? Is it this? Is it that? What is the competition doing differently? And you can put that all into an output. And yeah, definitely the interpretation is where it takes a lot of skill and a lot of experience in business or in data science to really get it through. But yes, sometimes you'll have a statistician, but sometimes you'll have a business intelligence analyst or something of that sort.
Terence, I've also just popped a link in the chat to our thought leadership article on unlocking value from data with machine learning, so people can go and have a look at that and read up a little bit more about what we've been talking about this afternoon. So last couple of questions. So Semin, and I know this is a topic you can talk quite passionately about, Terence, but he would like to know a little bit more around game theory that you're involved in, and then its applications to data science, if any.
So for us, when we look at game theory, we typically look at the behavior of the users, right? So when we do our research on a specific type of genre or a specific genre of game, we want to look at what mechanics and what feedback loops are working. And in order to do this, we have to use a bit of data science. To be honest, there are thousands, I mean, not thousands, millions of users on a particular game, for example. And if you ever are interested in looking at data science in games, there are a couple of websites. I think SteamDB is one of them. I guess you can go onto the Steam website as well to see concurrent players, what they're doing, what their machines, what computers they have. You can see a whole bunch of interesting information about the users themselves. And that's, I think, one of the key places is when you are creating a game, you need to know how many people are actually going to be able to play your game. And maybe you are in a big studio and you're making a AAA game that is only going to run on a quantum computer, then it's not really worth making the game. So definitely you can do research on your users, the game mechanics themselves. Is this game going to be selling? Why did the previous game in this genre sell? Was it because of the story? Was it because of the combat? What kind of comments can you actually generate from the review sites? So we can take all of that, what is it called? textual data. I mean, data doesn't have to be numbers. It can be textual as well. You can take all of that textual data, look for keywords using machine learning, and try and figure out the pros and cons of each game. I think Best Buy in America actually uses that data science, machine learning algorithm to look for pros and cons in their comments section. So when you go onto Best Buy and you look at a laptop or a computer or a fridge or whatever they're selling, or a bicycle, you can go to the reviews and it will say pros and cons, and it will look for the most commonly found keywords. So we can do that with games as well. So yeah, there's millions of millions of applications.
No, and I know that, I mean, this is your doctorate, right? And I mean, I know that you are very knowledgeable about gamification and many other topics that I'm also very interested in from an instructional perspective. But John from the UK says that education and serious games sounds very interesting to me. So maybe just quickly, let's touch on this idea of gamifying learning. And I mean, I think, we've both had great experience with our kids going to Montessori preschools, where the Montessori philosophy was that, children, and certainly at that early age, learn the most by playing. And that, we could say, extends into adulthood as well. And the application is huge because, certainly my experience is that when you run an icebreaker or you get people to stand up and do something active in a classroom or a workshop setting, it unlocks a different part of their game and they engage a lot better, and the output and the productivity and the level of fun, and insights that you're able to achieve within that workshop just goes up exponentially. So Terence, your thoughts there, just in response to John talking about serious games?
Oh, John, you've just opened up a can of worms there. I could go on for days about this. No, but really, I'm so passionate about applying games to learning situations. I feel like, so we still stuck in this pedagogical model of what learning should be, and we should be moving towards an andragogical, which is, I know, a gimmicky term, but andragogy basically means adult learning. And there's a couple of principles in andragogy that are so important. One of them is, we want immediate relevance to what we're learning. If you put a book in front of us and we can't apply that knowledge, we're going to forget it. If the second thing is feedback. If we don't understand what we did wrong, as soon as we do it wrong, we're less likely to change our behavior and make it right. And there's so many other principles that have been picked up in adult psychology that just, there's too much to go on there. But one of the really interesting things is, at Regenesys Business School, I'm actually working with the MBA students right now, and we've played 2 games. One game was called 2 Point Hospital, which is it's an off-the-shelf game. You can just buy it. It's not a bespoke, customized game from a expensive company. It's just a game I found and I thought would be nice. And it just teaches them about project management. And it's funny. It's actually, it's a humorous game. It's, there's people come in with the pandemic, and the pandemic is they've got a pan stuck to their head and they have to go get taken to a room where the pan is removed forcefully with a machine. But the humor actually drives emotive learning. So we attach an emotion to the things that we're learning, and that is such a key thing. We remember the best stories that we've been told. Ask any adult about their favorite Marvel superhero or if they grew up with Pokemon, which is their favorite Pokemon. They'll tell you everything about it, right? Because it's an emotion attached to their experience with that thing. So yes, I don't want to take up too much time. I was just going to say yes. Education and serious games definitely need more research. There's so much that we can explore here. And that's why I'm doing my PhD in this. I want it to be a positive learning experience and a positive well-being experience. So, one of the big things in education is homework is actually stressful. This is researched and found to be true. Homework is stressful. What if we've had games for homework? What would that change? Would that help us? Would that impede learning? We don't know yet. We need to test these kind of things out. So yes, I won't go too much into it.
I know you can speak for days on this topic, Terence, and that's fantastic. And I'm passionate about it as well. And I think it is critically important. What they say is that people won't always remember what you tell them, but they'll remember how you made them feel, right? And if you can connect what you want to teach them with their feelings and emotions at the time, you've got a greater chance of transferring that insight and knowledge to them. And hopefully that comes through in our courses. I think, Terence, the 2 courses that we've shared today and that hopefully people will take advantage of, really strives to include that engagement and taking people on a journey and tapping into the emotion of getting value through those projects and getting the immediate gratification of applying the skills and seeing the value that they can achieve in their lives through those new skills. It creates the relevance from going through the content. So there's lots that you'll see in those courses. We encourage you at different stages throughout the course. You'll get your certificates. Semin, great to see that you've enrolled and that you'll leave some ratings and reviews there. Please share your certificate on LinkedIn and tag Digital Regenesys with your certificate and say, hey, Digital Regenesys, got my certificate. Thanks for a great course. And then our CEO, Marco Saravagna, will see it and see the great value that the faculty and Terence, through his instructional design input and leadership at Digital Regenesys, is achieving with their students. So Terence, with that, we've come to the end of our webinar. Guys, there's lots of resources and links and articles and obviously the 2 courses that I provided in the chat. This webinar will be available as a recording at the same link if you want to go through it again. And of course, Terence is, you can contact him through Digital Regenesys. And all those links are available on the Digital Regenesys homepage that we shared previously and which is accessible on the landing page. Terence, last thoughts as we close off today?
It's nice to talk about the data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. We're going to say the group, right? It's a group of subjects that is going to be so important in every field and every sector, especially now as we're moving more and more into that digital transformation. But if you want to invite me back to talk about games, that's also good. But really, if you do the coding course, the data science, the machine learning, and the AI course, you're going to get such a good foundation. And this might pique your interest, and you might actually pursue something more formal and serious in that field. But this will give you enough knowledge to stand your ground if somebody does ask you questions related to these things. And you can take it to your boss and say, hey, I would like to experiment with this, because you'll have some hands-on practical knowledge. You will be able to do a few of the applications. So there's a great value in this, and I look forward to your comments, and please contact me if you have any questions.
That's great, Terence. Thank you. And that's exactly what we try and achieve here at the Student Success Coach. And Semin, thanks again for your comments. I'm glad we met your expectations of an informative discussion and hope you get lots of value from those courses. And I think last thought from my side is that, these short online courses, as long as they're good quality, really get you into topics that you might be interested in before you make a long-term investment in money and time into changing careers or a changing track at university, etc. And consistently in our webinars and in the Facebook group and here on the YouTube channel, we give you access into those resources. We give you access to people like Terence and others that we get in for an interview so that you can ask those questions. You can, really just dive into different topics. And the more informed you are, the better decisions you can make. But as I always say, and as we always end off our webinars, it is still up to you to go and take action, just to either experiment or make those big changes in your life, or learn about these new topics to equip and empower yourself so that you can be successful as a student and in your career. So Terence, thanks very much to you and the team at Digital Regenesys and Regenesys Business School. Have a super weekend. Thanks everyone for your comments. And I have also put a link to the Facebook group in the chat, so please join us there. And that's where we have lots of more regular daily discussion and interaction on all topics relating to student success. So Terence, thanks to you. Thanks to everyone. Have a super weekend. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for inviting me. Cheers.